忍びの時代は終わる。
螺旋が
Borushiki versus Jura. Which of them is the strongest? Well, at least today, I want to have a serious talk between Jura and Borushiki. There are several points I want to discuss, but let's start with the nonsense first. First of all, we know that the prophecy or future that Koji always repeatedly sees about Boruto is death that is never missed. In other words, every future path that Koji sees always leads to Boruto's death at the hands of Jura, whatever it is. Boruto has never won or even defeated Jura, and until at least chapter 21 yesterday, Boruto was really fed up and fully tried to fight his death destiny. Because surely since the beginning of Boruto and Koji's alliance to save the world from the threat of Shinju, Boruto must have fully followed Koji's instructions and directions to achieve an ideal future. So with that, Koji is very considerate of every decision to keep Boruto alive until this problem is completely over. And this is the first real point. What did Koji mean by the future path he saw that Boruto would die at the hands of Jura? Did Koji not find or see in that future prophecy a probability where Momoshiki possessed Boruto or at least saved him? Because supposedly as a very valuable vessel for Momoshiki, Momoshiki should not have let Boruto die at the hands of Jura, right? But what if what Koji predicted and saw included Momoshiki too? That is, every future path where Boruto dies, it also includes where Momoshiki fights Jura, because he's protecting his vessel? Who knows, right? Because try to think about this and consider it repeatedly, guys. Actually, did Koji see in that future where Boruto died at the hands of Jura, Momoshiki help? Or did Jura actually kill both of them? In other words, does that mean Jura is stronger than Momoshiki himself? We all know it sounds like complete nonsense to think that Boruto would die fighting Jura, especially since he's the main character. But let's set that aside for a moment and try to look at it from a few different perspectives, guys. A few days ago, I held a poll and the result clearly showed that 50% of people believe Momoshiki is the strongest. But why isn't the difference more significant? I mean, looking at these results, it seems that many still think Jura is stronger than Momoshiki. Especially when you read comments like this one, you can pause to read it. And also this one. Honestly, this poll has sparked several analyses, particularly because of Koji's repeated statement that Boruto always dies in every future timeline he sees. This has raised a big suspicion. What if in the future, Jura doesn't just kill Boruto, but actually defeats Momoshiki too? Why do I think that? Well, Koji is said to possess a god-level power known as the 10 Directions, a power that may be linked to the divine abilities of Shibai Otsutsuki. So would it really be impossible for someone like Koji to not foresee a scenario where Momoshiki takes over Boruto during a battle with Jura? That seems unlikely, which leads to the possibility that, yes, Jura could be stronger than Momoshiki. What do you think? But saying and concluding that Momoshiki is a weak Otsutsuki is something that needs to be seriously reconsidered, especially since he's an Otsutsuki who holds at least a higher rank or status compared to other Otsutsuki like Kaguya or Ishiki, who has a 10-tails beast reincarnated as Jura. But again, this is just an opinion or theory, guys. First, we certainly can't guess how the order to determine who is the strongest Otsutsuki, especially about a symbol that is in the Ishiki dimension, because in order and by level, it has not been fully confirmed if it is an absolute that the highest or otherwise is the strongest, right? So far, we have only assumed that their rank or strength is judged by who has the highest symbol. But what if we consider the events where Momoshiki and Kinshiki before descending to Earth and kidnapping Naruto? The point is, when Kinshiki reported to Momoshiki about the Earth that Kaguya and Ishiki used to implant a chakra tree. If we look closely at how Momoshiki speaks and how he is treated by other Otsutsuki, it seems like there's a hierarchy or caste system within the Otsutsuki clan. It's possible that Momoshiki holds a higher rank than others we've seen, like Ishiki or even Kaguya. Let's not forget, the reason Ishiki came to Earth with Kaguya was to plant the god tree. In Otsutsuki tradition, one of the two must be sacrificed, because only by offering an Otsutsuki as a sacrifice can the shinju tree grow and produce a chakra fruit. The plan was for Kaguya to be the sacrifice, while Ishiki would harvest the chakra fruit. But everything changed when Kaguya betrayed Ishiki and attacked him. As a result, the chakra tree never grew as planned. Now, here's the real question. Could it be that an Otsutsuki who only waits for others to prepare the chakra fruit like Momoshiki is actually the one at the top of the hierarchy? Because logically, if Ishiki or Kaguya were more powerful or higher ranked than Momoshiki, shouldn't they have been able to command him to do the planting and be the sacrifice instead? But to summarize, I assume and believe that Momoshiki is the strongest Otsutsuki and has the highest caste compared to the others. And the question is, how can Momoshiki be weaker than a 10-tailed reincarnation Jura, right? The reason why I say Jura is stronger than Momoshiki, of course, is based on my previous analysis. Koji always sees that in every future line he sees, if Boruto fights against Jura, then he will die. And if we compare it to a principle or promise of Momoshiki, who will not let the vessel die once again, does this become a contradiction, right? How can Boruto die while he has the plot armor of an Otsutsuki? This is an inconsistency between Koji not seeing that Momoshiki will not possess Boruto forever, or even that Jura kills Boruto and Momoshiki in every future line he sees. But what do you think, guys? Is it possible that Koji's ability has a flaw or mistake in seeing the future? Yeah, this actually sounds unreasonable, but I want to hear your opinions. But anyway, still talking about Boruto and Momoshiki. We know that as a child of Uzumaki Naruto, Boruto and Naruto both have something in common, namely the great power that resides in their bodies. Naruto with Kurama and Boruto with Momoshiki. Basically, this second being has a different perspective on the world, especially humans. From the beginning, Kurama hated humans because he used them heartlessly and used them as tools. While Momoshiki, his obsession is only a power and eternal life through karmic reincarnation, without thinking about a big impact on humanity from the power he gets. Because in fact, great power must sacrifice an earth. But if we talk about who is the most dangerous between Momoshiki and Kurama, we can clearly know the answer if Momoshiki is more dangerous. Momoshiki has its own consciousness in Boruto's body. The Borushiki's power is a mixture of great power from the potential loss of control. Because of course, saying that Momoshiki can be controlled by this Boruto is something that is very difficult to predict. Because once again, although Kurama was originally a cruel and bloodthirsty monster who wanted to kill humans, over time, because of Naruto's kindness, he eventually softened. But what about Momoshiki, who has his own instincts and obsession with something he desires? Honestly, this is difficult to predict. But what if we assume and return to the main point? What if in chapter 22, he possessed Boruto's body to fight against Jura? Because believe it or not, guys, if the current Momoshiki manages to take over Boruto's body, then Boruto will completely lose himself, and Momoshiki will completely take over his body. And this, based on Boruto's statement after the interrogation tragedy. Even when Boruto, who had just invited Kawaki to work together, he asked Kawaki to kill him without hesitation, if one day Boruto went berserk because Momoshiki possessed his body. But guys, this becomes a contradiction once again. Even if Momoshiki fights against Jura, will Momoshiki lose? And if we fully believe in the future line that Koji saw that Boruto will die if he fights Jura, then certainly Momoshiki is a weak Otsutsuki compared to the reincarnation of 10 Tails. And that's at least proof of why Momoshiki can be said to be weaker than Jura. Although this sounds ironic, but what do you think, guys? Thank you for watching, liking, and subs. I'm Nim. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye, Databayo.